wait for some people to join. Connection's weak. That's live. Hey guys, we are here to answer your social media questions. My name is Nick. I head up the social and comms and all that good stuff at EKM. We're also live on Instagram as well, so hi Instagram. This is...
I'm Stephen. I'm the in-house researcher at EKM, and I do everything from the customer feedback, the product-based research, and internal research that we need to do.
Cool, yeah, so really conscious of time. I know a lot of you guys have a lot of questions about social media and how to use it, especially in sort of small business context and how you can use it to grow your business and get sales and whatnot. So we want to jump into Q&A as fast as possible, but Stephen's got some stats here to sort of give some context on the social media landscape as it stands, and then we can get the conversation started. So feel free to start jotting your questions down in the comment section below, and we'll try and get to as many as possible. We've got a lot of questions through email as well, so we're going to try and get through as many as possible in the short time that we've got. So yeah, we'll try and get through to them. So obviously.
Yeah, so there are some basic useful stats to know first of all. One of the interesting ones is internet activities by age group in the UK. So why are people using the internet? And social media, as you might expect, is one of the biggest reasons for that. It's broken down into a few age groups here. So 91% of 16 to 24 year olds are using the internet for social networking. 89% of 25 to 34 year olds are using the internet for social networking. And then the percentages do go down from that point. So 35 to 44, the 35 to 44 age range is 75%, 45 to 54 age range is 66%, 55 to 64 age range is only 51%, and when you're going to 65 plus, it's only 23%. There are some interesting stats when it comes to the most popular social networks. Some of these you may not consider social networks directly. The top one is a well-known social network, what we're on right now, on this camera at least, and that's Facebook. They have 1.5 billion active users, apparently. Yes.
That'll be daily.
Yeah, that's
Daily active
ranked by number.
Yep.
That's worldwide, that's not just in the UK. The next is WhatsApp, with 1,000 exactly. Then we have Facebook Messenger. It's a messenger service, but it is used to distribute content, so it's considered a social network. That's on 900,000. And as you go down the list, there are a lot of chat apps in there. So QQ, WeChat, which is the Chinese chat application, but it's also used massively for the promotion of shops and used for online purchases over there. So yeah, there's a large social landscape out there. It's a huge audience, and that's why it's important to try and engage with that audience. There's also some interesting reasons for people using social networks. So the top social networking motivations, the top one is to stay in touch with what my friends are doing, and 55% of people are using social networks for that purpose. To stay up to date with the news and current events, 41% are using them for that purpose. Fill up spare time, to find funny or interesting content, to share my opinion, to share photos or videos with others, because my friends are on it, general networking with other people, to meet new people, and to share details of what I'm doing in my daily life are the top 10 reasons that people are using these facilities. I've got some very limited numbers on the percentages of people using each individual network, but this is in the States from 2016. So for Facebook, 79% of online adults are on Facebook, and the largest age range using it are the 15 to 29 age range, and that's 88% of that age range are using Facebook. The next largest is the 30 to 49 age range, at 84%, and as you'd expect, it drops off after that point. A lot less are using the other networks. So there's Twitter, there's Instagram, there's Pinterest, and there's LinkedIn. The percentages there are all between 25 and 32% of online adults in the States in 2016 were using those particular networks. But the numbers in terms of the demographics, the age ranges using them, are fairly similar. So it's generally the 15 to 29 using it most, and then the 30 to 49 age range. And one interesting little fact is the average person has 5 social media accounts and spends around 1 hour and 40 minutes browsing social networks every day. But in the UK specifically, Britain's, the average is that you will have 4 social media accounts and you will spend 1 hour and 20 minutes a day browsing those particular facilities. Cool. So that's just a few little interesting notes, gives you an idea as to why you should be on social media and why social media is important. Hand over to Nick for the...
Yeah, so earlier on the week we sent an email to our customer base asking for social questions. So we've got a few written down. Stephen will ask me the questions and I'll riff off. But if you have any questions, feel free to just leave them in the comment section below. And for the ones that are just joining, we are live to answer your questions about social media and social media marketing, specifically in a sort of small business context for online shops and whatnot. So yeah, fire away.
Okay, so the first question comes from Hayley Jenkins, and the question is paid for advertising on social media worth it?
Yeah, so thanks for your question, Hayley. The short answer is yes, definitely, 100%. I think I wouldn't just jump in feet first without knowing what you're doing, but it is 100% worth doing. I think Facebook as it stands is still quite early in its sort of life cycle as an ad product. Obviously Facebook's ad product, they own Instagram, so Facebook's ad network is both Facebook and Instagram. I think the way these things work is when ad platforms come out and they're young, there's not many businesses on them, and they're often cheap when you first start off. So if you're gonna get on Facebook advertise, I think now's the time to do so, because an advert that you'll put on now, if you do the same advert in maybe like 2 years' time, it's going to cost you a lot more money. So now I think Facebook advertising, social advertising, is the most cost-effective method of social media marketing if you want to get your brand in front of people. I think it also depends on what you want to achieve through your ads. Is it brand awareness? Is it sales? I think it's important to keep that in mind when you're actually setting up your ads. For instance, if you want sales through it, there's a lot of vanity metrics in social media marketing, such as like reach and impressions and likes. If you want sales, the only metric you should be going off is those sales. If you want brand awareness, you're going to be going off different metrics. So yeah, my advice is definitely jump on it now. There's plenty of guides online that you can use to sort of find out how to use the system. As it stands, it's still fairly quite basic to use. You can pick it up. I'd do your research before jumping in. I wouldn't just chuck money at it, because Facebook will happily drink your money. We use quite a lot of social media advertising as well, and it does just drink your money if you don't know what you're doing properly. So yeah, the answer is yeah.
Thanks again for that question, Hayley. Just to recap, for anyone joining, this is Nick and I'm Stephen. Nick is the social media executive at EKM, and I'm the in-house researcher, and we're answering your questions on social media. The next question was from Wendy Campbell, and the question goes, hello Nick, what do you think are the best social media platforms for me? I use Facebook, and I try to put something on my blog at least once a week. I also use Pinterest and Google+. I can't seem to get my head around Twitter and how it would work for my business. I look forward to hearing your thoughts. So over to you.
Was that Wendy?
That was Wendy Campbell, yeah.
Yeah, thanks Wendy. I think it starts by knowing your audience. I mean, I don't know much about business, but as a small business, you're probably very busy. I think there's a common thought process that people think they need to be on every single social media platform to be successful, which is just not the case at all. Essentially, you need to know your audience and know where they're spending their time. If you're selling to a younger audience, they're likely going to be on the likes of Instagram, especially if you're selling a visual product as well. That's perfect. So I wouldn't advise going on every single social media platform. The main three: Instagram, Facebook, and probably Twitter at the minute. Although Twitter's got a bit of a noise problem, but yeah, it depends on who your audience is. You mentioned that you're on Google Plus as well. I mean, sorry to our friends over at Google. We've got close ties with Google, but I don't think that Google Plus has enough demand there. I don't think there's enough people on it to justify your time. You're much better just spending it going all in on the platforms that are working for you, such as probably like Facebook and Instagram. I think Facebook should be a baseline. You should always be on Facebook because everybody's on there. It's got the widest demographics on there. But after that, I branch out into the likes of Instagram and Twitter for direct communication with your customers. So yeah, it's a case of knowing where your customers are and meeting them halfway. To be honest, I wouldn't just think you've got to build a brand on every single platform. Just reverse engineer where your customers are and go all in on those platforms. And each platform's got their own unique language as well. I think it's important to learn it in depth. So for instance, content that would go on Instagram wouldn't necessarily fit on like Twitter or Facebook. Each has its own nuances, and it's important to make content that's native to that platform. A sort of simple example of that would be image sizes, stuff like that. So make sure that your image sizes are the correct size for Facebook or Instagram, wherever you're going to post them. So yeah.
Thanks again for that question, Wendy. We have another question, and the question was from Paul Diggins. The question was, interesting to know how to set up Facebook or Twitter linked to the site.
Link to your website?
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're on EKM, I know it's very simple. We've got a feature called the social plugins, I think it's called.
Social plugins.
Yeah, social plugins. You literally just drag and drop. You choose which social media plugins you want, and then you enter your Facebook URL or your Instagram URL, and then it just links directly from your shop. The other way around, from your social media accounts to your website, you often see on Facebook they've got like a Shop Now button. That's just in the settings. You can just link your website on there, and then it'll be linked directly through.
Okay, so thank you for that question, Paul. When it comes to the social plugins feature as well, it allows you to have a like button for your products so that people can click like on a product page, as well as having a social media icon on the home page of your shop. Generally, it appears in an editable area, so it's useful for that very purpose. You would need a Facebook account or a social network account first, so get those set up with the social network in question. If you're unsure on that, we do have a couple of blog articles for Facebook, Twitter, and for setting up the business accounts.
Yeah, so if you go to ekm.com/blog and then search Social Media 101, I've done a full start to finish guide on the basics, the sort of intermediary stuff, and then the Facebook ads as well. So Social Media 101 on our blog, and you'll find all the information you need.
Okay, we'll move on to the next question. This is from Donna Corley. And the question was, I understand posts to social media can be scheduled in advance. What is the easiest way to do this? Can you schedule to update them all at the same time?
Yes, it depends what platform you're on. We use an app called Buffer, that's Buffer. Go to buffer.com. We use that to schedule our Twitter posts. It's a great tool. I mean, I understand if you're a small business and you're a small business owner and you're busy, you can't just drop out of your daily routine to start tweeting. So all it takes is about an hour in the morning, maybe 2 hours in the morning for good content. Schedule that out through the day, and then you're sorted for that day. Facebook has its own native scheduling system. So in the business page manager, you just go to post as you normally would, but instead of clicking publish now, you can just set it to schedule whenever you want. And it's also worth researching the times that get the best engagement on social. Each platform has their own times where you're going to get the most engagement. Just a quick Google search will show you the main times you should be posting. Instagram's a bit different. You can do it through Buffer, but it just gives you an alert. It gives you a reminder. Really, it doesn't really post it for you, but it's still a cool tool. So yeah, buffer.com we use.
Okay, so thank you for that question, Donna. We've got another question here from Karen.
Yep.
I use social media to promote my shop, and although there is an interest in my tweets, etc., these never seem to convert into sales.
Yeah.
So how can we convert social media interest into sales?
Yes. Let's say Karen.
That's Karen, yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Karen. I think this is the big one. This is the big question that everybody has: is how do I turn my interest on social into sales? And I think the first thing that needs to be said is stop trying to sell. if you think about why people go on social in the first place, it's escapism. They're there to catch up on the world, and they're there to be entertained. They're not there to learn about your brand. They're not there to see why your business. They're not there to learn about your business. Essentially, you need to put your content and post content that they understand and they're interested in, that adds value to them. This can come in many forms, be it inspirational content, be it behind the scenes, be it how-to blog articles. It comes in many different forms, and it's all about just adding value to your audience. It's not about taking from your audience. I think social's a different game to what a lot of people are used to. It's not just direct intent marketing. It's a long game. There's a lot of work to do. So you need to be putting out regular content every single day that adds value to your audience, and then when the time comes, you can then ask for a sale. You can then direct them to your website. But until that point, if you keep posting posts that say, come buy my products, come visit us in store, blah blah blah. If you keep asking and asking and asking, you're not going to get anywhere. I think the way that Facebook works, and I pick Facebook, I'll do this as a standalone, but the way Facebook works is on an algorithm. So if nobody interacts with your posts, it'll show it to less people the next time. And it's proven that nobody interacts with posts that are just asking for sales. It's never going to be that way. So what you need to do is put out regular content that adds value to your audience, that's useful, that offers them something in terms that they understand. I think all you're trying to do, really, there's a lot of noise. There's a lot of noise on social. So when you're going through your feed, you're competing with everything. You're competing with their whole world. So you've got to really stand out and give them something for them to pay any attention to you. And I guess it's up to you to figure out what that added value is.
I guess you got to apply it to yourself in a lot of cases. Like if you were having a conversation with someone and the only thing they talked about was what they were selling, then you wouldn't be that interested in that conversation. Whereas if they were asking you questions, or if they were asking you things that you were interested in, and maybe after a lot of that they were then saying, oh, and there's also this product available, you're more susceptible to that. You're having an engagement with that company or with that individual, and then after building a rapport with that individual, you're then saying, we have a product here and we think it might be useful to you based on what we've discussed.
Yeah, I think a lot of people use social as a consumer in one way and then as a business owner in a different way. So for instance, think about how you use social when you're at home. You're not looking for businesses, you're looking to catch up on your world, as we mentioned before. And then I think people do that as a consumer, and then they put on the work gear, they put on the tie, the suit and tie, and they come into work, and that whole mindset changes, and they start just, oh, let's talk about the company, let's just do this, let's sell, and it's just not the case. I think the number one thing that needs to be in your mind is grabbing attention and adding value. I think you need to give your audience something, a reason for them to watch you instead of all the thousands of other things that they've got going on the feed. And then once you've built up that audience, once you grow in some engagement, then you can start asking for sales. Then you can do a new product release and say, come over to our website for a 20% off. And I think as a general rule, once you've got going, I'd do it about 70% adding value and 30% asking, maybe more, maybe 80% adding value, and then about 20% asking for sales. I don't think you can just you can't just keep asking and asking and asking without giving anything in return. And it's a competitive environment, so you've got to be very consistent and put in a lot of work. It's not a quick win. I think if you're doing it just because you think you've got to be on social, you're going to lose. I think it's worth the investment. It is the new marketing platform. It is where it's all going on. So consistent hard work and learn as you go. I mean, I won't be too precious as well about the content that you're putting out. I think there's a bit of analysis by paralysis in the early days. I think you think, oh, this needs to be perfect, or this isn't funny enough, or blah blah blah. Just put out what you think's best and learn, and always learn from something and see what works well, and then always use that the next time. I don't think you should be worried about starting. Nothing, you don't have to post perfect content at all times. You're going to get better, but just start putting out content and start adding value to your audience and start building relationships and talking to people and building a brand instead of just asking them to buy your products. So that'd be the answer to that.
Okay, that's great. So thanks for that question, Karen. The next question we've got 3 pre-written questions from emails left, and then we're going to be going to the live questions. The next one is from John Bolton, and the question is, can a social media campaign be tracked to show impressions as well as clicks? Can they be targeted to people with a particular interest or hobby? And I guess first it will be worth kind of defining what an impression is versus a click, just in case anyone doesn't know that. So,
yes, so impressions are just basically your content being shown in somebody's feed. It doesn't. This is what I was about before with the vanity metrics. You can often get caught up in thinking a post has been successful because it's had 10,000 impressions. All that really means is that it's been shown in somebody's feed. It doesn't necessarily mean that people have taken notice of it or they've acted upon it. The things that you need to be taking note of are engagements, so people commenting and liking your posts and sharing. They are the actual metrics you're looking for, not necessarily impressions. In answer to the original question in terms of tracking of your content, yes, you can do. So in the Facebook Business Manager, you can see, if you go to the Insights tab at the top, you can see all your content, you can see how it's done, your organic reach, your boosted reach and whatnot. So yeah, that's all tracked within there. What was the...
So yeah, it was can it be tracked to show impressions as well as clicks, and can it be targeted to people with particular interest or hobby?
Yes, your organic content, which means content that isn't paid for, you can't necessarily target to specific audiences. You'll either have to boost it to an audience. You have to pay, basically. You have to put it on as an ad, and then you've got very defined sort of demographic tools that you can go into. I think one thing that sets out Facebook from the others is the demographics. Like, it's scary how much you know about people, and it's scary how much you can target them. It's very, very powerful, and I'd recommend using it, to be honest. I think there was a bit of uproar, wasn't there? Do you know when Facebook came out and said they're lowering everybody's organic reach, and they're putting on sort of Facebook ads, and they're using it as an ad platform.
Yeah.
And maybe it's just me as a sort of digital marketer that understood it, but I mean that's just the game, isn't it? You're using their platform to market it. It's just the state of play. Like it's the cost of entry. So I won't get too caught up about that. And
I think a lot of that at the time was down to the use of personal data as a way of targeting people, and the use of personal data as a way of being sold to, and people didn't necessarily agree with companies being able to use that data. But at the same time, as Nick's kind of already said, you are putting it into public domain when it's on Facebook. Mm-hmm. So if there's something you don't want someone to know about, then generally you wouldn't put it on Facebook anyway. Mm-hmm. And that's the nature of Facebook now. That's how they monetized. That's how they became big after being a small university-based social network that allowed you to get in touch with other people at a university, only one university at the time, to spreading across America, across the UK, across the world. So that's what they had to do that. Like it or not, it's there, and it's a valuable tool for businesses.
Mm-hmm. And for the people that are just joined on Instagram, my name's Nick. I help social and comms, all that stuff at EKM, and this is my good friend Stephen Palmer. He's our in-house researcher at EKM, and we're here to answer any questions on social media and social media marketing. So if you have any questions, that goes for Facebook as well, feel free to just put them in the comment section below. There's nothing too technical. Even if it's a really basic question, don't be embarrassed, just put anything in there. So we've got a couple more questions that we got sent in via email, and then we'll just leave it over to you guys.
Yeah, so thank you, John, for the previous question. The next question is from Rona, and the question is, with using Facebook to advertise and Facebook only showing your post to so many people without having to pay to advertise, how do you increase your traffic from social media to your website?
Yeah, I think we've pretty much covered that in previous questions. Again, Facebook were always going to monetize anyway at some point. It was always going to be the case. I think the thing that follows now is just hard work, long, consistent work, really, with your social content. Like, you're gonna have to put out content on a daily basis that adds value to your audience and is interesting to them. That's going to stand out on their feed. You can't just talk about yourself all day long and then sit around and wonder why people aren't coming and buying your products. You need to grow your audience and then you can monetize it. I think again, it's just standing out. And the only way to stand out is to give them something, not ask.
And what is interesting is traditional advertising on the net for shops was pay-per-click, Google pay-per-click campaigns.
Yeah.
Very untargeted to a degree. It's only basing it on keywords, but social media advertising is massively on the rise. So in the past 2 years, budgets for social media advertising worldwide have doubled. You've gone from $16 billion US in 2014 to $31 billion a year in 2016. So it is fast becoming the more popular way to advertise, probably because of the demographic side of things. And it's only going to continue. They reckon, analysts reckon that in 2017 that there'll be a 26.3% global increase on the spending for social media ads. So that's going to take you up to 38 billion by the end of this year. It's only going to increase, and it allows you to target people that are actually more likely to be interested because of those demographics. You're not just mass carpeting based on a couple of terms that could be used for other meanings. You're able to pick a certain country, you're able to pick a certain age range, you're able to pick things, people that have certain interests. So it's a very useful tool in that regard, and it's only going to increase as far as analysts are concerned. So thank you for that question, Brona. And the last question we have that was asked to us before we started this session was from Mag Smith Roberts. Very short and simple question: what makes a good advert on Facebook?
What makes a good advert on Facebook? It depends what you want to achieve, to be honest. First of all, it needs to be, as we mentioned before, native to the platform. It needs to fit and look right within Facebook's feed. Facebook won't publish anything that doesn't look right or has too much text. So essentially all Facebook wants is to extend its life cycle. It wants people to be always on the platform so they can keep monetizing. So if people are allowed to put out sort of spammy looking ads, less people are going to use Facebook because they're annoyed with the adverts, and then something else will come up and then they'll use that. So I think what works well with Facebook ads, if you want to achieve brand awareness, I definitely use video. It's like, so our CEO and our channel partner manager went to Google the other week, and it's obvious that the common trend was video, and I think we all knew it's been coming for a while. It's what I watch on social. It is social now, video content. I think this is why we're doing this now. These live streams, we're trying to eat our own dog food in that regard. It's what people like watching. So in terms of brand awareness, what's going to stand out on the feed is going to be video content. I understand for small businesses it's not always easy to produce video content when you've got little experience and you don't have a sort of marketing team as such. There are things that are coming that can commoditize that for you. So for instance, YouTube are bringing out an app soon, or they may have already brought it out, where it allows you to basically produce a business a promotion for your business about, so it introduces your business, your products, and it does it in a step-by-step guide for you. So you don't need a marketing team to build that for you. So these things are slightly becoming commoditized to that in that regard. So
Is that the YouTube Director?
Yeah, I believe it's called that. Yeah, the YouTube Director. So yeah, brand awareness, video content, that's going to stand out in a feed, and it's going to get the most views. I think that's what you're looking for with brand awareness. You're not necessarily looking for sales as such. You're looking for views and more for people to remember your brand. I think that's what Facebook measure it upon. They call it brand recall. So how many people will remember your brand after 2 days? So yeah, brand awareness, video content. In terms of sales, you can still do video content and have a learn more on there. I think the main things to keep in mind is that it's got a clear call to action and a clear message, and it stands out on the feed. So for instance, you want them to know exactly what the ad's saying and what to do after that ad. You don't want it to be ambiguous in any way. And yeah, clear call to action, stand out on the feed, quality graphic. The creative, as in the graphic or whatever image you use, is often the variable with social ads. If it's probably more cost effective to get somebody to do it for you, somebody that knows what they're doing, instead of if you're going to hack it together yourself. It may just be diminishing returns. You're probably better off to get somebody who knows what they're doing, maybe a designer, maybe you know somebody who can design one for you, tell them the message you're trying to convey, and then use that yourself. I think a big thing to remember as well with social ads is that it's going to be on mobile. Most people are going to be viewing it on mobile. There's often a bias when you're working from a desktop, and I've done it myself. When you're working from a desktop and you're viewing everything on desktop, you start to think that people are also going to be viewing it on desktop and forget about the mobile side of it. I think 80% of people are going to be viewing your ads on mobile, and when you're in the Facebook ad interface, it shows you mobile news feed, and you can see how it's going to be viewed on mobile as well. So yeah, just always think mobile, clear CTA, good quality graphic or video, and good targeting as well. I mentioned before about Facebook's targeting. You can go very sort of granular on who you're going to target to. Try and be as specific as possible with what you've got and your knowledge of your audience, and yeah, go from there.
So that's the end of the pre-asked questions. We're going to go to the live questions that we're getting on both Facebook and Instagram. We already have one on Facebook. This was from Gareth Alexander, and the question was, how often is too often to post on business social media without sickening people?
It varies depending on the platform, to be honest. I think you'll find a cadence yourself, really. I wouldn't be posting more than 6 times a day on Facebook, but Twitter's a bit different. Personally, I think Twitter's got a problem at the minute. I think it's going to have a problem going forward in the future, and that's because they failed to keep up, really. So Twitter doesn't really work on a what's the word I'm looking for? Algorithm. It doesn't have an algorithm. Twitter is just a feed.
They have introduced one very recently, but they're very late to the game.
Right. So when you post on Twitter, it's so fast, and say somebody's following 500 people on Twitter, that content is going to fly straight down the feed and you're not even going to see it. Facebook's a bit different, so what you post will actually stay within the feed for more time. It'll get more engagement and views. So it's finding a cadence yourself. As a general rule, we post about 3 times on Twitter a day, and maybe twice on Facebook and Instagram. Probably, well, yeah, about once on Instagram as well. So yeah, that's that.
Can you refresh that and we'll get some more questions up? We're just bringing up the next set of questions, so please bear with us whilst we do so. We have had a question: what is the best social network to use for online shops?
Well, that depends on the online shop, doesn't it? It depends on what you're selling and what your audience is spending time on. If you're selling to a younger female demographic and you're selling very visual products, you're going to likely be all in on Instagram. If you're selling to a bit of an older demographic, you're going to jump to the likes of Facebook and the platforms that they're using. I think we've mentioned that each platform has their own advantages and has their own language and has their own sort of expected norms as such.
Yeah.
What you post on Twitter, you wouldn't necessarily post on Facebook, because we know that Twitter uses hashtags a lot more than Facebook and such, and it limits your characters, how many characters you can use. I find, as we mentioned to the lady before, the main thing you want to do is you need to know your audience. You need to know where they're spending their time and the best things that they react to, and go from there, to be honest. Don't spread yourself too thin thinking that you have to do absolutely every single social platform, when it's just not the case. You're going to see more success by doing maybe 2 or 3 and going all in on those platforms, as opposed to doing 5 or 6 and doing bits and bats and spread yourself too thin. So yeah, I'd reverse engineer your own audience and then go from there. But I'd say as a baseline, as we mentioned before, always be on Facebook, and at this stage, the attention's all on Instagram as well. I'd definitely be on Instagram.
And would you say there's any to completely avoid? Like, would you say there's some that just aren't places to sell? Say LinkedIn, like things like LinkedIn, for example. I'm thinking, I don't expect myself. This is personal, admittedly. I don't expect myself to be advertised to.
Yeah.
On something like LinkedIn.
Yeah, there's nuances like that. Yeah, of course there are. But like I said, every platform has their own language, and I think it's just getting started. Like we said before, just get started and start using it. Don't be too precious. You'll learn as you go on. You'll learn language of each platform, what's native on that platform, and you'll just get better and better. I don't think you should be too worried about just getting started, to be honest. So this question: I don't have many followers or likes. How can I increase this without spending money on advertising? Yeah, so it's that question again. It's just putting out regular quality content that your audience will engage with. It's not necessarily just talking about your company or your products or being me. It's about standing out in your customers' feed, in your audience's feed. So when you're competing against thousands of other businesses and thousands of their friends as well, so you've got to do something that's going to stand out to them and it's going to be interesting to them. You can't just talk about yourself as such. As we mentioned, video content is huge now. It's going to be. I think Facebook will take over YouTube for video content. It's the way I see it going. And like I said, this is us trying to eat our own dog food. We're saying you should be using video, and we're going to be starting introducing it a lot more, and doing these sort of Facebook lives.
Yeah, so we've got another question here from Mark Hart, and the question is it best to use different posts on each platform? I use Instagram and then I share my content to other sites. Should I stop and use different posts?
I don't think you always need to use different posts as such. You may bog yourself down thinking there may be too much going on. I think you should make it keyword native to each platform. The basic form of that is making sure the image sizes are the correct size, and make sure the language that you use is correct for that platform. Like you wouldn't go on Facebook and put 7 hashtags after it because people think it looks spammy. Facebook probably won't show it to your customers. But ideally, in an ideal world, yes, there'll be different content on different platforms, and I'm thinking about practicalities of small business owners and how much time you've actually got to do this. So I won't want to say you need to be putting native content on each one and you need to be doing it on 7 platforms when you just don't have the time for that. I think just learn the ones that you see the most success on and go all in on them. I know there was a story, I think it's Cambridge Satchel Company. She featured on a Google advert. She started off on EKM and she said she found most success just on Twitter. She went all in on Twitter when it was first in its infancy, and she tweeted like 7 times a day. She interacted with people, she started conversations. She used influencer marketing. She reached out to influencers in the fashion industry and sent them samples, and then they sent it to the bigger audience. I think that's huge now. In fact, yeah, I'd say for any of those that have a bit of budget and you know the influencers in your arena, in your sort of market, influencer marketing will definitely be effective. If you reach out, maybe you don't even have to pay for it. Maybe you just have to send them a product. If you reach out to an influencer in your market and say, hey, here's a free sample, I'd love it if you could just do an online review, thanks, and then that's just free engagement.
And just for those who might not be certain on the term influencer, what are you meaning by that one?
Yeah, influencers are people in your industry that have a big following and are sort of spokespeople of your industry. So in the fashion industry, you get a lot of people who do blogs, vlogs, and they have a massive following and they sort of set trends and stuff like that. So yeah, that's essentially what an influencer is, and I think that's definitely where marketing's going, and it should be something that you guys do. There are platforms now where you can go on. I think there's one called Influencely, something like that, and you can go on and you can search for influencers, search for your industry, search for your industry, search for influencers. It'll show you how many followers they've got, and then you can pay them and they'll promote your products. I think while we're on this topic as well on influencer marketing, one thing that I'd like to sort of get off my chest is this whole numbers versus engagement thing. So people often think you need to build a huge audience. It's a numbers game. It's how many people are following you, and it's not the case. I'd rather have 10 people that follow me that are actually going to buy something off me and are engaged in what I'm doing and actually interested than 100,000 people who just don't even care and are never going to engage with my content. I think you should focus on actually building an audience that care about what you're doing and care about your content, and they're actually going to be interested in it, rather than just trying to get it out to as many people as possible who often aren't ever going to pay any notice to what you're doing.
And there's actually a parallel to that in the standard SEO game, in that when you were doing old school SEO for organic searches, you would want to use terms that weren't too specific to your website, that no one was searching for them, but also not too vague that they could be mistaken for another term. So I did the webinars for Ecamm quite a while ago. The example I always gave when I was describing the marketing section was wooden toy shop. Well, you wouldn't just use the term toys for that, because toys could refer to office toys, it could refer to plastic toys, electronic toys, wooden toys, all these different items. So you need to, in the same way, you need to have an audience that is ready to accept what you're going to say. And having hundreds of thousands, but some of them aren't really going to be interested, it isn't all that useful. We do have a few more questions. We're going to go through those now. I think we've had a message on Instagram, so I'll let Nick find that whilst I read out this question. The next question was, with so many videos and photos in mine and friends' social feeds, how can I get my content in front of the right people and not just disappear into the background?
Well, that's just what we discussed before. It's making your content more interesting to those people than their friends' content. To stand out, it needs to be better than what they normally view. It needs to be interesting to them. I think video's an easy way to do that. You're going to stand out a lot more on video, because if you compare an image post engagement to or a standard text to a video, it completely trounces it. And I think you need to know your audience, know what they're interested in, and build a conversation around that. And then your brand comes off the back of that. I think once you build that conversation, you can then start engaging with them more. And if they need your product, they'll then choose you because you're top of mind. I think your aim is just to grab the 2 seconds, 3 seconds, maybe a minute of their attention a day, and to stay top of mind. You do that by putting out quality content every day that they're going to be interested in. Once you're top of mind, if you're always staying top of mind, when they need your products, they're going to come to you because you've given them all this value, you've built up this relationship with them. They're now going to choose you over somebody else. Instead of if you just keep posting about your products and about yourself and why you're great and blah blah blah, it's not going to show on their feed, for one, so it's never going to work. Two, it doesn't really add any value to them even if it does show in their feed. And you're never going to get anywhere just talking about yourself all the time. So giving and then taking, I think that's the key. Just give and then you can ask for a sale when the time comes. But it's not a quick win. It's not an easy game. You can't just sign up to Facebook and then wonder why the sales aren't pouring in. It's a long, consistent, hard game.
And to anyone who's just joining us, this is Nick, the social media expert for Ecamm, and I am Stephen, and I'm the in-house research for Ecamm, and we're answering your questions on social media right now. Ask them on the comments on either Instagram or Facebook. And we do have another question that I'm going to scroll to now. The next question we have is, are there any particular days or times which are best for posting to social networks?
Yes, each has their own best times. We think Twitter does best in the morning, between 9 AM and maybe 1, and then at night. That midday sort of seems to be a bit dry. Facebook, again, you got to think about when people are going to be using social and when your audience is going to be on social. Night times always seems to get a lot of engagement. If it's already on their feed by the time it's night time, it seems to get a lot of engagement. But LinkedIn, if you're going to be doing some B2B stuff in the morning, always seems to do better. Again, Twitter in the morning and at night. Facebook Facebook normally between 1 and 5 really. If you post between 1 and 5, that seems to have a good success rate. And Instagram's fairly similar. I think Instagram has a lot of attention at night time as well, and people are procrastinating and escaping and whatnot. So yes.
Okay, so thank you for that question. We do have another one, and I am messing with my phone to scroll to it. There we go. With paid adverts, is Facebook going the same way as Google, where by only those who pay can actually get any benefit? Are there still opportunities for people without a large marketing budget?
Of course there are. Yeah, definitely. I think, as we mentioned before, Facebook were always going to monetize. They're always going to lower your organic reach and make you sort of push you into paid advertisements. I don't think it's, as we mentioned before, Facebook's still fairly cheap. It's still in its early adoption stage in terms of its ad network, and what it costs you £2 now, when more businesses join it in 2 years, it's going to cost you double that, maybe even triple that. So I think the key is to get on Facebook ads as soon as possible if you can afford it. But in answer to the original question, you don't need this marketing budget to actually grow and convert an audience on social. You again, it's just about putting out content that they're going to be interested in, that adds value to them. I've actually if you go to our blog, ukm.com/blog, and search Social 101, I've done full guides on the type of content you can post on each platform, like Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. There's loads of tips on there on the actual type. If you're struggling for ideas, you can take those idea types and put them in your own sort of business context to start off with. But yeah, it's just about trying to appear in your customers' feed and trying to add value to them. And then when the time comes and you're top of mind, they'll think, yeah, I'll use that business instead of the other one, because they'll remember you and you've already given something beforehand.
Yeah, so thank you for that question. We do have another question here. LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, Google+, so many networks. How do you find time to post on them all? And what about all that effort if they shut down like Google+? I hardly have enough time to run my online shop, let alone do all these posts. So yeah.
Yeah. Again, we mentioned that before. Don't think you have to be on every single platform. Ideally, you would be, because there's attention on all of them, and you want to be in front of the right eyes, but you want to be in front of as many right eyes as possible. But if you're a small startup and you don't have a lot of time and you run your business yourself, don't think that you have to be on every single social platform. Find out where your audience is. There's a tool called Google. You can just find out demographics on each platform, and if you know your audience, you know what platform they're going to be spending them on. Like I said before, younger audiences are going to be on the likes of Snapchat and Instagram, and it ages up from there. But don't feel like you need to be on all of them. I'd say find 1 or 2, maybe 3, try and perfect them, learn the language, learn how to speak on it, learn what content works best. Video content's going to work best, but yeah, just learn what content works best. Do stuff like this, live streams, just put yourself everywhere, and put yourself out there, and I think in time you'll start seeing success. Once you've added that value and you've started building those relationships and people start to know about you, then you can start asking for sales and giving them special releases and whatnot. So
yeah, and to back up Nick's statement there, research. Funnily enough, my roundhouse, my wheelhouse, should I say. There's plenty of ways of getting information on who is using what social network the most, and that can be split down into so many different categories. You can split that down into gender, so male or female, age ranges, like I was reading out before. The stats that I've got in front of me were from Pew Research Centre, and they also break it down on education basis. So have they had a high school education? Have they had some college? Have they completed a college degree? This is American, so college is university in this case. Income. You can get that type of a statistic out there. If you're selling an extremely expensive product, then you don't want to sell it on a social platform where it's an age range that doesn't have the disposable income to buy that product. Location. There's here urban, suburban, and rural.
So I'm talking about that question. Is Snapchat good for any business, or is it just used for sexting each other? I think it definitely is. It's that's funny. For the right for the right audience. Obviously, Snapchat skews younger now. It's a completely new platform to what you're used to. For anybody that doesn't know Snapchat, it's just sort of 10-second videos that you film yourself and then they completely disappear, unless you do a story and then it stays for 24 hours. But Snapchat's for brand building and showing people sort of behind the scenes and so showing them behind the scenes and building a brand around maybe yourself or your business. It's going to be hard to get direct sales from Snapchat. I think you should only really start thinking about Snapchat and maybe stories and that sort of stuff if you're a bit bigger and you've got the resource to do it. Video content on the right platform is great. As a small startup, I think Snapchat may be slightly ambitious. We've just started it now at EKM. We're sort of getting our heads around it ourselves and Instagram stories and whatnot. So I wouldn't like to give any advice where it's not fully founded on by ourselves yet. We've not fully sort of mastered that platform yet. So I wouldn't like to give any advice on it, but it can definitely be good for brand building and showing people behind the scenes.
And I guess take into account the nature of the platform. So Snapchat isn't something where you're going to post something and they'll be able to go back and look at it. So you're not going to want to put on a ton of information about a product or take a picture of a product with its name and expect people to remember it necessarily. Whereas, as Nick was saying, the behind the scenes stuff, no doubt if Nick wasn't in on this video, he'd have been behind us by now actually taking a Snapchat picture to do a behind the scenes of this. Take into account the nature of that platform. That platform is a single image that gets shown for no more than 10 seconds. 10 seconds. I don't use it often enough. So take that into account. Don't put anything on there that's going to take more than 10 seconds to absorb. But I like the behind the scenes stuff. I think that's a nice way of doing it.
I mean, I wouldn't like to be confused when I say people don't care about your business. I don't mean that as such. I mean, they will care if you've got something to say and you've got sort of something interesting going on. They will want to see it. They will engage with it. But what I mean by they don't care about your business is they don't just want to be sold directly to. They don't just want sales signs in the face. I think you'll know yourself when you use social. People get annoyed with adverts. It's just the way it is. So the thing now is to make an advert not seem like an advert. Everything that you're posting out is technically an advert for your business. You're adding value. You're posting content. But at the end of the day, it's still representing your business, and it's technically an advert. It's just disguised as something else, and that's something that they consume. And
and like the rise of ad blockers in recent times proves that. There's browsers being built with inbuilt ad blockers, and publishing companies are having problems because they're essentially funded by advertising, especially on the internet.
Same reason Netflix is sort of so popular and like on demand and stuff, because nobody wants to watch adverts in between TV. They just want to watch their content and get directly to it. What else have we got?
Okay, yes, we've got another question here. I struggle to think of content to post. I run a fashion business. Any suggestions what I could post and where?
Yes, I'm not really big on the fashion myself. We mentioned before about influencer marketing. I'd definitely get on board with influencers. I mentioned how I think it's Julie Dean from the Cambridge Satchel Company. She had no experience. She didn't know anything about marketing at all. She just got in with the right people. She found who had sort of backing in that industry, who knew that industry and who had a big following, and she asked them to review her products. I think video reviews are massive in the fashion industry. I've seen a lot of that myself. Obviously, if you're selling visual clothes, and you're going to want to be on Instagram. I think you're going to want to go all in on Instagram and perfect that before you start thinking else. And I'd say influencer marketing, Instagram visual content, high quality content as well. The quality of the images that are on Instagram is a big factor to its success. We've actually got a guide on how to take better quality images. If you look on our blog, it's really easy. You don't need anything fancy. You can do it with your regular smartphone now. They've all got a decent enough camera on there. But I'd say influencer marketing is going to be huge for your business if it's fashion. And Instagram.
And I guess being kind of seasonal with it to a degree. If you've got a summer range that's about to come out, then don't post it necessarily in the middle of summer when people have already purchased everything they want for summer. Start posting that type of stuff towards the end of spring. People are going to be getting ready for that season at that time. But I think that's obvious to you in the sense that you're in the fashion industry, so you'll know all about that. That's just me. For anyone else who might not be as aware.
Well, I'll just like clarify. Was it Jane? Oh, sorry. Jane, yeah.
No, that one was.
Oh, okay, yeah. So, what I mean by influencer marketing is just find somebody that's influential in your industry. I'm sure you probably know who they are because they might even be your competitors, but your competitors might be using them. But yeah, find them, send them a sample of your product, and ask them if they can review it. Essentially, give them a product for free, and if they review it, that goes out to their entire audience, and you start building your name from there. So that's what I mean by that.
Just in case anyone has just joined, in the last 5, 10, 15 minutes,
yes.
We're doing a Q&A on social media at the moment. We're accepting all questions through both Facebook Live and through Instagram. And this is Nick, who's the social media executive expert here at EKM. And I'm Stephen Palmer, the in-house researcher. And we do have another question now from Jane, which I'm going to scroll to. Can you give some examples of video content that works, and how does it convert into sales?
Well, yeah, I mean, first off, think about what you consume. Think about the video content that you consume. I'd guarantee that it's normally got people in it, often got humour. It depends what you're trying to achieve. In this case, it sounds like you're trying to achieve direct sales off the back of a video. That's sometimes tough. I mean, you can put a sort of call to action at the end of the video saying, head over to my website and buy. I can't imagine it's not the seamless buying experience, is it? It's not. But if you're putting out regular video content, more and more people will engage with you, more and more people will know who you are, and then you'll just see sales off the back of it. You'll start seeing organic sales off that brand awareness anyway. If you want to create a video and convert it directly into sales, you can put up a Facebook ad that will go over to Instagram's ad network as well. The actual video content is up to you as such, and it depends on your industry and what you're actually selling. But it needs to stand out. You've got seconds. You've literally got seconds in a feed. Think about when you're scrolling through your feed, how fast you go through it. You don't have long to capture them, so you need to get your important messages off. You need to get an important message out first. You need to get something that's going to catch their eye straight away.
Especially with like Facebook auto playing on both desktop, unless you've turned off the setting on your own phone. Facebook will auto play a video, so it has to within those first few seconds make someone stop in their feed, make someone stop scrolling. And if they don't have that enabled, then the screen capture has to be something that people want to engage with. It's good. You've got to encourage that click on the play button if they've not got the autoplay already enabled. I guess think of TV adverts. We've just recently had a Super Bowl which has had billions of dollars spent on it on adverts, and the types of adverts they've been running have been you looked at what they were running 10, 15 years ago, and the game has totally changed in terms of what people put on TV in terms of adverts. Well, social media is essentially the next television advert to some extent. It's going to take over.
That's exactly right.
If it already hasn't. So you've got to think of it in the same way as that. What is going to make you stay sat down to watch it rather than getting up and leaving? Only when you're on social media, it's scrolling up. Exactly. We do have another question.
We go past one now.
I will make sure.
Yep. Go up. So, how can I compete against videos of funny cats in hats or people falling over? Well, that's the question, isn't it? I think you need to know your audience and what they're interested in, and put out content that they're gonna consume over the. I don't think everybody's on social to watch cats in hats and all that sort of stuff, but it obviously does get a lot of engagement. It's just it's relationship building at the end of the day. It's building a relationship between you and that person. You don't want to feel like a brand. You want to feel like you want them to feel involved. I think people. There's an interesting sort of TED talk by a guy called Simon Sinek. I know he's getting a lot of shares around social for a video he did about millennials recently. But people follow you because you represent something about them. So he gave the example of Apple. People follow Apple because they want to be first and perceived as somebody that has Apple products. It's not always necessarily about the quality of the product. It's about what that brand represents about them. Yeah, that's fine, Instagram's gone off. But you want to build relationships with people, and you need to represent something that your audience want to be seen as, or seen as part of. You're building a community, you're not just building a direct sales business. So yeah, I don't know what that'll mean to you in your individual business, but I think you need to find your values, represent something, and build a community around that. That's a good place to start, and see where you want to be in 5 and 10 years, and yeah, start building your own audience through relationships.
So thanks for that. We're going to move on to the next question, if I can scroll, which was from I find the only thing that gets me lots of likes on my page is when I'm giving free stuff away or running competitions.
Yeah, because that's, yeah, I mean, everybody loves free stuff.
Will, yeah.
It's the same concept of giving before expecting. I think the more you give, there's a thing called, let me say it right, the reciprocity principle, which basically means if you give something, people feel compelled to give back. So the more value you add, the more stuff you put out, have faith that if you are putting out content that adds value to them, be it blog posts or humorous content or daily inspirational content or videos behind the scenes, whatever it may be, the more you give without asking, the more you'll inherently receive in return. That's generally how it works. So you keep adding value, and eventually you'll be top of mind, you'll be in people's feed all the time, they'll be engaging with you, they'll be building a relationship with you, and then they'll come and buy your products because of all that work you've done for them. I mean, if that's working, and keep giving away free stuff, but I assume that's not very cost efficient.
I guess the free stuff doesn't have to be physical free stuff.
No.
We do a lot of guides that aren't necessarily directly related to EKM. So we do help guides, as Nick's described earlier, where it's how to set up a business page with Facebook, how to set up a business account with Twitter. These aren't directly related to EKM and our product, but they're things that we're giving to people to help them out. We've recently done an ebook on setting up an online business. So these aren't, obviously they help us out. Of course they do, otherwise we wouldn't be producing them. But at the same time, it's not as if it's a physical thing that we're giving away. It's not as if we're handing money out or anything like that.
I think there's a faith aspect of it. You've got to have faith that eventually this content and this work that you're putting in will see returns. If it's good enough and you do it consistently enough and you don't give up too soon, it's going to see returns. I don't think you're not going to do it by just keep saying buy my product. Content, like Palmer mentioned, content marketing in terms of blog articles and how-tos, they're very, very effective. If you're teaching your audience how to do something, that they're always quite effective. You can if you're on EKM, there's a blog feature, a WordPress blog feature, really easy to set up. You just install that, and again, don't be too precious about the quality as such of your content at first. It's going to be tough when you're not going to be great when you first start off, but you'll get a rhythm and you'll know what works best, and practice your writing and put out regular content. I think video, even if you just do video how-tos. So record a little video on your phone saying how to do this, and posting that'll get a lot of engagement.
Yeah, I mean, whilst you might not consider it yourselves, YouTube is considered a social network to a degree. It has comments, it has people you can follow, it has channels you can follow, and it's a great place to do that type of video content.
Yeah.
Going back to the blog, one blog article could lead to 3 or 4 different social media posts on different platforms if you just focus on one area of that blog article. So we've done one that's based on taking the best quality pictures. Well, we can use Instagram and show an example of a great quality picture being taken and direct people to that blog. We can use Facebook to give one of the hints that we've given in there with a picture, again, back to that blog article. It's all a way of getting people back to your site, and it's all a way of getting people to engage with you. So big pieces of content like that can then easily be broken down into smaller pieces, and if they're what we would call evergreen, which means that they're advice that isn't really going to ever go bad, then you can repost that again 2-3 months later. I think normally it's 3-4 months later, isn't it, that you do that type of a repost
Yeah.
of a blog article,
Yeah.
or mention it again, to show it to a new audience again. We do have a couple more questions here.
Scroll up a bit.
There we go. So, what are EKM.com doing to help shop owners to benefit and profit from social now and in the future? Well, the first thing that we've done was the social plugins feature, and the WordPress feature.
So yeah, we've got features that make it easy to connect your online shop to your social platforms. I think a big thing that we're going to be doing is more of this sort of stuff, this how-to stuff, and giving back. I think, like I said, it helps us anyway, because it helps you guys grow, and that's in our interest. So we're doing a lot more of this stuff. As I said before, I did a start to finish series on social. First starts off how to set up your pages, then what type of content you should be posting on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and then it gets onto the more technical stuff as well, like the KPIs, sort of success metrics on social, and how to build a content strategy if you're a bit more advanced. So yeah, if you head over to ekm.com/blog and you search for Social 101, you can see all that content for free on there. And I'd love it if you had a look over at that. What else we got? How do you deal with trolls and generally nasty people? There's always going to be people out there that are going to sort of troll you as such. It's just the way it is. It's just look past it, I guess. I mean, it's easy to block out anyway. You can just ban them from your page. I think it's a bit cliched, but I've seen it in numerous cases that as soon as you start seeing a bit of success, there's always going to be somebody that has something to say, or they think you should be doing it this way or that way, or they don't like how you did it. I think if you start getting negative feedback, it's often a good indicator that you're doing something right, to be honest. I think when people start getting jealous of what you're doing, or they start getting a bit angry, it's sometimes an indicator that you're doing things right and you're actually progressing. Obviously, I don't like the culture of completely ignoring negative criticism as well. If you're being criticised for something, sometimes take a step back. If you've seen it a few times and say, I might actually be doing something wrong here, I can adjust from that. But at the end of the day, just see it as feedback, as critical feedback that you can use to grow. If it's not applicable and people are just being nasty for no reason, trying to sort of drag you down, just look past it, I guess. But if it's actually something that's come up a few times and it's a way that you can better your business or yourself, I'd use it as critical feedback and learn from it as such.
Yeah, and with my role, I mean, feedback in any form is useful, even negative feedback. There are going to be some people that are just posting stuff because they want to use the term troll you. But at the same time, if you see a theme consistently coming up, say you're a business, you've sent out products and something's not arrived correct, and you're seeing more than one post about that, well, that's something to take on board and show that you're willing to do that, show that you're willing to take it on board and make a change based on that. Maybe change courier or change the packaging that you use. Just make sure that you're willing to do that. We've still got a few more questions here.
So, John, look at it. I thought that I'd recently bought a brewing kit. Hold a minute, scroll that up a bit.
Sorry.
Choose the shop. Yeah, I'm not sure how to answer that one. Keep scrolling.
Well, it was. I thought that I recently bought a brewing kit to brew my own beer, and the thing that made me choose the shop I did, and
was their own video.
Was their video. So that's a comment on what we were talking about before, which is giving content out there.
Yeah.
If you're selling something that requires action, that requires, say, assembly, or requires a bit of know-how to get working, show them. Do a video showing them. Do a video. Do a step-by-step guide as well. Just in case someone's not able to view the entire video at that time, have paper written instructions as well. Not paper, sorry, online instructions as well.
Yeah. I mean, it's got to be.
It's a way of adding extra content.
I think video content is going to be huge. I don't think it has to be perfect as well. Don't be too precious about how good it's going to look. Really, to start off with, you're going to get better and better. But if you do, like John said, if you do a short video guide on on how it works or how to set it up or whatever your product might be, or even a review of it, people are going to watch it and they'll be interested.
Yeah.
Stuff in that, yeah. What's we got?
We've got.
Yeah.
Just scrolling a bit
So
much.
again, for those that are just joining, my name is Nick. I head up the social and comms at AKM.
And I'm Stephen. I head up the in-house research for EKM.
Yeah.
And we're answering your social media questions today. The latest one is, what is your personal favourite social media marketing you have ever seen?
Personal favourite in social media marketing? Oh god, that's a tough one to learn off the cuff. I think there is a company, I think they use a social media team, but there's a company called Boohoo. They're a women's clothing retailer, very, very successful at social media marketing. They did a live video like this one, but essentially what they did is, so we all know that comments and shares are what you're looking for, and that's exactly what they did. They sort of got a big balloon with Boohoo on it, and they said, they had a guy sat under the balloon, and it had water in the balloon, and they basically said every time somebody comments fire or something, or every time somebody likes or comments on this post, we'll inflate this balloon a bit more. And obviously the more that people commented, the more the balloon inflated, and then eventually people were waiting to see this balloon sort of blow up. And that was the best sort of content I've seen done on a live stream. Got thousands and thousands and thousands of sort of comments and shares and likes and whatnot.
That would have been very much brand building. That would have been very much expanding brand awareness.
So
not necessarily directly selling anything to anyone, but encouraging people to have that company in their mind in general.
Yeah, so people were waiting to see this guy get soaked with this water in this balloon, and everybody were commenting. So I think being creative around the tools that we've got and things like that, that was very impressive to me. I think we're going to start doing a lot more videos and stuff, and trying to be creative around the content that we put out, so it's consumable, it's entertaining, and it's stuff that you guys want to see, as well as the how-to stuff and showing you how to do things. So yeah, that was my favourite.
If I was to include my favourite, it's not actually for a product. It was for a film that came out last year called Deadpool. I am a slight geek in that sense, so yeah, I was always going to be interested in it. But at the same time, they had a Twitter account where the in character posted tweets and replied to people's tweets. They had a great set of images leading up to the launch. They had a few behind the scenes with their social team. They had short clips before the movie came out, not just trailers, but actual. I think they did a run up to Christmas where they, for 5 days, released another piece of content just before it came out. It kept you engaged, and it kept you having that particular product in mind, and it made me go to the IMAX to go see it. So yeah, that worked. Yeah. So that was easily my favourite, I think. We've got another question, which I'm going to scroll to. It looks like the last question at the moment. What is your single top tip for anyone wanting to use social to improve their online business? A big question.
Single top tip.
Yeah. If people haven't listened to any of this, they're just listening for this last 1 minute. What is it?
It's a tough one. I'd say give without expectation of receiving in return. That's where you're going to see the most results. As a ground principle, like we said, people aren't coming on social. You don't go on social, whoever you are, you don't go on social to be marketed to. In fact, you're probably visceral to be marketed to. You probably absolutely hate it. You go on social to catch up with your world. You're on there to escape, to be entertained, to learn something, to probably watch videos, whatever it is. And that's all done by putting out content that isn't necessarily directly related to your product as such. It doesn't always have to be directly related. It's just entertaining and brand building and building connections. And you do that by starting. You just start. I think you're not going to be perfect as soon as you start putting out content. And I wouldn't want it to be. I want what I say now to be a reason for people to be scared of putting out any content at all. It doesn't have to be perfect when you first begin. Just try and give your audience something. Try today to I don't know, put out a how-to guide on your product, put out a product review of your products, put out a short video showing what's going on behind the scenes. try and do something entertaining that's going on in the office, or whatever that might be for your audience. Yeah, and don't just try and sell your products directly, because it's not going to happen if you just keep posting, you know, buy my product now. It's never going to happen, and it's a shame to see. You see a lot of businesses do it just because they don't know. I mean, I think I've seen loads of businesses do it just because they don't know what else to do, really. But to start building relationships with people, to be honest.
Yeah, I guess think of it like a real life situation. If you're in a party, there's one guy in the corner that's constantly talking about themselves, and there's another person in another corner that's asking you, oh, what do you do, and what do you do for fun, and what's your job, and have you got any pets? I mean, you're probably going to talk to that person rather than the guy in the corner only talking about themselves. And it's might be a simplistic way of putting it, but it's essentially the same thing online. People are looking for something to engage with, and they're not just going to engage with someone that's talking about themselves all the time.
Yeah, and people sell people. I think if you, the main things that you engage with on your feed is other people, and try and build a personal brand around yourself, and show behind the scenes, show what's going on in the office, and just put out regular content that adds value to your audience. I think that's my single piece of advice, and just get started. Really, you'll learn as you go, and don't be too precious.
Yeah, and on that final tip, I think we'll wind it up for today. If you do have any more questions, this video will be available, and you can comment on this on Facebook. If you'd like to suggest any topics to us for other future live videos you'd like to see, please go ahead and use our Facebook page to do that. Other than that, thank you very much for watching, and hope you have a great day.